live from stupidly named Northwest Stadium, which is it's somewhat north, not west. Um, in Washington, D.C., you know it as FedEx Field. You see it behind me. Paul Kuharsky here from paulkuharsky.com. And brought to you by EDLEY'S BBQ, which sponsors these fine podcasts post game from Game Site, and also by Brymac, which is nice enough to send me on these trips for paulkuharsky.com. A disastrous game for your Tennessee Titans. Bill wants to know how I'm going to defend Brinker after this performance, and I'm not going to defend Brinker. I'm just going to say I find him less responsible for this performance than I find Carthon, who's responsible for the personnel that's on the field. Just an awful, awful showing. Let me tell you a little bit about EDLEY'S. 5 points in East Nashville, Sylvan Park, Donaldson, Franklin and Berry Farms, Franklin and the Factory, Gallatin, 12 South Nolensville. I can't stop eating there. You should start eating there so that you can't stop eating there. If you're already eating there, eat there a little bit more. If you're not eating there, start eating there so you could start eating there a little bit more. The best barbecue in and around Nashville and Middle Tennessee. I think you'll find it delectable, delicious, phenomenal. I do. Thanks very much for your support of them. Thanks to them very much for their support of me. I think Northwest is a bank. I don't know. I don't care. I don't want to support places that put their names on stadiums. I think it's stupid way to spend money. If you're an unknown entity, I'm not going to go look up what you are. And so that's that. Listen, that is a terrible football game. To go down 21-28-0, to come out that flat when you're trying to put a validation sticker on the game that you just won in Houston. And what I think it does, I mean, look, the win against Houston, I'm going to say this, it's in the standings, it counts. You can't do anything to undo it. But, Levis says this doesn't make it that we're slipping down the mountain. We've already made the climb, or, there's too much in the climb. Is there? I don't. I think this undoes a lot. I convinced myself that 10-point losses to Minnesota and to the Chargers meant something, and the Houston win meant something. And this makes it look like that's not the case to me. Houston game is one of those fluky, it beat a good team once in a while. Bad teams beat good teams once in a while, especially in division games. 10-point losses. 10-point losses against good teams are double-digit losses. And more often than not, the Titans have lost big to good teams. They've lost by 16 to the Packers, and 24 to the Bills, and 38 to the Lions, and 23 to the Commanders, who I now think are a pretty damn good team based on the pasting they put on the Titans, who aren't that good. But this is what you do to a bad team. You beat them down. You score 28 points in no time, flat, in 20 minutes. And you make there no question that they're coming to your place and they're going to go home beaten down. And then when they make their little charge after you, that makes it, like a cute little team, cute little dog chewing on your pant leg, trying to, slow you down, that they kick a couple of field goals, and that there's no big deal at all. A completely embarrassing effort. This defense that likes to talk, especially Jeff, about, nobody runs on us, giving up, over 200 yards rushing, to the degree that they take out their number one back and they put in their secondary back, and they both almost have 100 yards. Robinson 16 for 103 and a touchdown. Rodriguez comes in and he runs 13 for 94 and a touchdown, on their way to 45 carries for 267 yards. 40 minutes of ball possession. Just worse. And then, Simmons says it's like we had a hangover from the win. Well, I appreciate his candor on that. I think it's an accurate description of the way they play. I don't think it's an appropriate response to have. I get a hangover from one whole win. Sounds like a young, immature team to me. And this is not a young, immature team. It's one of the older teams in the league. not one of the youngest teams in the league. And then Brownlee, look, I appreciate Brownlee's candor too, and I don't want people to put a lid on Brownlee, but he said he thought the cold got to them. He's a Florida guy. Well, he hasn't played in much cold like this. People are telling me in Nashville it's just as cold as it was in Washington today. It's about 40 degrees here. The wind was cold, but the cold gets to you. Poor. Jerome Baker was not good. Spencer, I agree with you there. While Gibbons was starting over him, Gibbons was hot. Let's listen to two of these things. Here's Simmons on the hangover.
We got to learn how to have success. We don't know how to have success. We started off too slow. All phases of the ball, from top to bottom. I mean, that first half wasn't Titan football, and I don't know what it was. Like, we, from top to bottom, from everybody who had a part of this game, we didn't come in. I felt like we was hungover. We were hungover from success, and we didn't come out ready to play and go down 28-0. It's going to be hard to win in the National Football League, so you have to be better.
That first half wasn't Titans football. Well, what is Titans football? You know, Nick Westbrook-Akine, one of the few bright spots here, scored 2 touchdowns. You know, had a couple drops, was involved in some off-target throws and things, but he says it's something, paraphrasing, it's not indicative of who we are. Well, it is. This week 13, this is who they are. Can't keep saying when things go badly, well, that's not us. This is them. This is the 2024 Tennessee Titans, the team we saw out on that field. Now, did they have an especially bad day? Yes. Washington have an especially good day? Yes. But this is them. This is this. Robert De Niro in The Deer Hunter. Here's Brownlee on the cold, if you really want to get riled up.
I think guys didn't come out playing fast enough. Like you said, we had a lot of turnovers in the first half, and that was during the first quarter. So I don't think guys was locked in more. I think guys let the cold get to them. Because, like me, I'm a Florida guy. I don't like the cold, but I know what comes with playing in this profession. And sometimes, you know, you're going to have to play through things that you don't like. And I think guys let the cold affect them today. You know, a lot of guys ain't going to say it, but that's what I think happened.
Sometimes you're going to have to play through things you don't like. Bigger things. And guys aren't going to say it, but I'm going to say it. So I appreciate that. But sometimes you're going to have to play through things that you don't like. Okay? Jarvis Brownlee, you know, maybe he's – I like that he's honest. I think guys are going to tell him to shut up. I think, you know, veteran guys with stones will tell a rookie to shut up on stuff like that. I like it. At least he's being honest. I mean, Levis, Robert's asking, do I think Levis has turned a corner? I mean, Levis wasn't a big problem today. He was a little off. Only got sacked twice, dropped back 37 times, threw some good balls, had a couple drops, threw some bad balls. Didn't have a chance to be that big of a factor today. They had the ball for 20 minutes. D-Gup says, though, unfortunately, the first half was Titans football. And look, I led with Amy Adams Strunk. Last week, you know, they wanted us to invest. They wanted you guys to invest. They know I'm not going to invest. Oh, Amy, it's emotional, big emotional win for Amy. Gained balls. She was crying. We're salute to our boss, everything. What today? A word about Amy? Word from Amy? No. When they win, it's Amy's game in Houston. All hail Amy. When they lose, you suffer alone. You suffer alone. No, nothing from ownership. Nothing about ownership. Nothing about management. You know, Adam Peters took himself out of the running for the Titans GM job pretty quickly when Rand Carthon got hired. Who'd you rather have today? Adam Peters, who's building this team, and this, you want to talk about teams that were disaster. People think the Titans are a disaster now. Washington, under Daniel Snyder, that was some bad ownership. Amy Adams Strunk is not Daniel Snyder level ownership. They got rid of Daniel Snyder. They got a new owner, and things are looking up here in Washington. I was out with a friend last night who's lived in Washington for 40 years, a Chicago guy. He's a Bears fan, but I asked him, you know, how into the Commanders are people now with Snyder gone and with them winning? He said, it's crazy. They were chanting for Terry McLaurin today. Love Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin, by the way, had a pretty damn strong day. 8 catches on 8 targets for 73 yards. On there. You rather have Adam Peters or would you rather have Rand Carthon as your GM right now? NWI. Chris Flint says NWI is the UDFA undrafted free agent wide receiver that projected others to be for years. Byron Ely. And I'm not going to remember names off the top of my head, but yes, he's the guy that's actually panned out. Sitting on my foot to get the right height here, so I'm going to be wiggly. False start to start the game. Latham Lewis said, blame my position right out of the gate. Bad by me. So I like his accountability at least. At least. Dig Up says it's 32 right now. He lives outside of Nashville, north of town, I think. Patrick, it's absolutely an immature and poorly led team. Leaders don't speak like that or let that happen. I don't know how Simmons can stop all of that stuff from happening, but yeah, almost like Simmons is saying the lack of offense at the start of the game made the D soft as Charmin today. I don't see any anger or fight. I don't know if he said that. But yeah, look, they came out and they started soft. And then they got pushed around. You start a football game soft, then you're going to get pushed around. And then when you get pushed around, the whole tone goes against you, and you can't get it back. You lose the line of scrimmage early in a game. How often does that turn in your favor? It doesn't turn in your favor very often. If you're on Twitter, retweet right now. That'd be great. We'll get some more people in the conversation. If you're on YouTube, be sure to hit the thumbs up and subscribe. If you're listening later on Apple, on iHeart, on Spotify, please like, rate, review, subscribe, do all of those things for the Paul Kuharsky podcast. Much appreciated. Why do the Titans never run hurry up? David Baker asks. Can't Levis handle it? Seeing them behind and just lining up and bleeding the clock makes no sense. That's a good question. We'll try to get into that this week. Sam loves Jarvis. Yeah, that's a good question. TK says, whatever happened, they just kicked our ass, and that's what happened. The answer, there was some of that today. Jerome Baker basically said that. So I give him credit for that. Be asking about a Cowboys chant. Cowboys suck. There was Cowboys suck. TK says NWI picked a hell of a year to have a TD outbreak when he's due to free agency at the end of the year, huh? I don't know if he comes back, the more scores. Well, I mean, it's all about be in good shape, and they certainly should give him what the market bears. Because look, if you let NWI walk, then you need 2 receivers. And it's already bad enough that they need 1. If you let Dylan Ravens, who's not having a fantastic year, but he's proved to be a key right guard, and at the very least you want him in the mix for depth. If you let him walk, then you're in the market for an additional offensive lineman. Right tackle. Probably inside linebacker market. But, if you can contain it to that between free agency and the draft, that's great. But if you let NWI leave, if you let Radens leave, then you're adding another wide receiver, then you're adding the starting guard to your list, and then you've got a lot more to have to pay attention to. Is Jaden Daniels really that good? Tremaine Kelly asks. I mean, wasn't under a lot today. As it's strong. Northwest Stadium is as slow as Sleepy Joe. Yeah, I'm not making political jokes in here. Yeah, because you got a great, awake and honest Donald. Robert says, I think Levis has shown enough that I could safely say they aren't drafting a quarterback. I would say the same, but you got 5 games left, so let's see what happens. Chris says, I fear there will be no coaching front office changes at season's end. Are we destined for a similar 2025? Well, I mean, how much do you think that the Titans' issues are front office and or coaching related? I think Callahan didn't have a good day today. Nobody had a good day today. I think Callahan's shown improvement. I think it's possible for Rand to show improvement during the year. He did a pretty good job finding Daryl Worley, but I give credit mostly for Worley to Denard Wilson, who had him last year. He had 17 tackles today. He was credited with 17 tackles, which was pretty remarkable. But, if they keep the same people, they're expecting, steadiness and consistency to allow people to get better, and in terms, instead of uprooting everything and starting again, would be part of the steadiness. So we'll see. I don't know who gets fired in the offseason. Colt Anderson has to get fired. If Colt Anderson doesn't get fired, then I got real questions about things. That's what Sam is agreeing here. Need to fire a special teams coordinator. Not interested in changes at the top for GM or head coach yet. I tend to agree with that. Robert, more likely variable to Ohio State or the NFL next year, in my opinion. NFL. College football life sucks with the NIL and the recruiting and portal, and it really is a 24/7, 365 job. NFL, get a month off there in the summer. You get to go home at reasonable hours. A lot of time during the offseason, you even get a reasonable Friday if things aren't going terribly during the regular season. It's a much better lifestyle. Jackson was taken off the kickoff team once he had fumbled and lost the punt, replaced by Spears, so they had Spears and Chestnut back there. But Callahan basically said he doesn't have a viable alternative in the punt return. They could put Boyd back there and he'll catch the ball, but he's just going to catch the ball. They could do the same with Amani Hooker, but it sounds like they have Boyd ahead of Amani Hooker. They're going to get somebody on the roster who can return the ball, and that would be Mason Kinsey. So I'm not a Mason Kinsey guy, but I would get Mason Kinsey on the roster. You got to suffer some consequences if you keep fumbling punts. And this is on, by the way, Rand Carthon. I tweeted about it. J-Rob at Carthon's introductory press conference made a joke when he was talking about him over his shoulder. And by the way, get me a kick punt returner. 2 years, not a functional punt return. Now, Callahan's talked about it being difficult to find one. I see guys returning punts all over college football who can catch a punt and go somewhere with it. And the Titans can't find that guy. It's a massive disappointment. A massive disappointment. This feels a lot like the Ken Wisenhunt era, says Double Play Away. It's the Ken Wisenhunt era with a little bit less stubbornness and a lot less meanness. So I would say that. Where was Daryl Baker all game? Brownlee is handsy too, but he has serious potential. We also need to extend Amani Hooker. I didn't really notice that Baker was missing, but they certainly were spending a lot of time looking for McLaurin. Yeah, I have no idea about Burks. I'm not paying a lot of attention to Burks. What's it going to matter if Burks is back? You want him to see him drop passes or restrain something? Sam says, I had a feeling this was coming when I saw a clip in the locker room of Ridley laughing at someone's reaction to his comment on the Commanders' defense. Yeah, so Ridley, I don't know what prompted the laughter, and then he said, we need to kick their ass. I mean, it's tough to read into one small comment and one small reaction. That clip was about 30 seconds long. So it's dangerous to say 30-second. I mean, maybe you're onto something, but for a 30-second clip to give you a premonition about a game seems like a little much, but maybe you nailed it. The hit on Lawrence was bad. How many games for Aziz Al-Shaair? Not Ryan Shazier. I would think one game, but I don't know. I haven't seen a lot of the context and everything. We all just kind of surrounded somebody's computer that had it up and playing, and saw it. It was really nasty, and I didn't see the entirety of the fight. That really should have gotten his ass kicked really badly from that. Yeah, TK is saying he's lucky to have walked away alive from that hit. I don't know about alive, but it's hard to beat the hell out of a guy with the helmet on. So, Sergeant Bubbles, team looked unprepared, not motivated, almost like they thought the win in Houston was their Super Bowl and nothing else matters this season. Well, yeah, game ball, and they say, that for a little bit of a letdown. Hey, that's the biggest game for the owner. What's it say about the week after? Every game ought to mean something to Amy. And that's what I led my column with. Like, if that one was big to her, what about this one? Is she going to react to this one with the same emotion that she reacted to the last one with, or does she just care about a win against Houston? We could have hired, CA says, we could have hired Quinn and Cliff. McDonald is leading his division, and Harbaugh's doing amazing. Even Canales is better as the Panthers close in on a win. Canales, look, you can make judgments on all of these guys after 13 games if you want. It's generally not the prudent thing to do. Quinn, you just had a defensive-minded head coach, and so you know how that goes. Cliff has had but if you hire a defensive head coach, it's unstable. Hopefully everything's flying. Sam says, what happened, happened. What would constitute a successful finish to the season based on where they are? Well, you'd love to beat Jacksonville twice because Jacksonville looks like could be worse than you. Got to beat them once. Love to beat them twice. Should beat the Colts to even that out 1-1. So it should. Roger McCreary seemed fine. I mean, he returned to the game, didn't he? And Callahan didn't mention him after the game. Callahan's very upfront about injuries. And I asked Roger if he could talk, and he asked me just if he could wait until after he showered. And then, I got caught up in other things. The Wi-Fi does not look so rough here, so I don't know why it's doing what it's doing. But let me take a look. Yeah, it says it's full power, so I don't know why it's giving this grief. It is. If Rand was let go, would Brinker assume GM duties? Don't know, Spencer. These are questions that Amy Adams Strunk will have to answer. if she does such things. And it all depends on how these guys are sucking up to her. Rand hired Chast, ran in terms of over. If you're changing that, but it's hard to know what she was doing. Sam thinks the Titans are sabotaging the post-game chat. Are you hearing me when the audio as well? Robert asking about how many openings there are going to be. We can talk them through if you guys want to list them. Obviously, a couple already. Audio cuts out too, which sucks. Maybe move over this way, which would get me closer to the Wi-Fi. I'm in like a coach's booth. Surely they've had good Wi-Fi during. Returned. Is that better? Now I should be better. Let's see about it. McConnell-esque Wi-Fi, somebody says. Did I ever get a feel for how much the scouting department was overhauled? It wasn't overhauled at all. I mean, they made one change. The names are on a list, Robert. It's not a secret. I mean, you see who the scouts are. I think they changed one scout, and there were, however many scouts, 8 maybe, and they got rid of one guy and hired one new guy. And weren't many changes at all. So it's not something you have to get a sense of. All you have to do is look at the directory. Sorry about the problem there with the Wi-Fi. Brought to you here from Northwest, stupidly named Northwest Stadium in Landover, Maryland, by EDLEY'S BBQ in Nashville. 8 locations around town. East Nashville and 5 Points, Donaldson, Franklin and Berry at the factory, Gallatin, 12 South Nolansville. Go tomorrow, have lunch tomorrow, have dinner, put it on your calendar this week, set up a business meeting, take your family, whatever. Got to get to EDLEY'S and eat, get some takeout, get some lunch for your office, whatever it takes. Accommodate eating EDLEY'S soon. Delicious. I'm told the connection's much better now, so I changed the Wi-Fi. I'm going to hop on here and retweet so people can see it. Hook me up with the Nashville EDLEY'S hookup, and everybody will be the better for it. What else is on your mind about this game? Yeah, Robert says, can't imagine Lawrence is going to be available next week. That hit was brutal. Yeah, I would think Mac Jones is on the horizon for the Titans, which is better. But this team has a history of losing to some bad teams. So we shall see. Looking to retweet here, but don't really have a tweet. What else on your mind? Lawrence, that's a nasty hit. There's some bad blood there. Certainly getting way worse. So, Titans, who they have the worst blood with in the AFC South? I would think, a little bit with Indianapolis. They had the Stonehouse thing last year. The defensive meltdown by the Titans, DJ said. I mean, right from the start, they played no defense for. If you look at the drive chart here, it's going to just be pathetic. Brace yourself. 3 plays, touchdown. 11 plays, touchdown. 3 plays, touchdown. 9 plays, touchdown. 12 plays, missed field goal. 2 plays, end of half. That was Washington's first half. If they didn't miss that field goal, they would have scored on every possession on their first 5 possessions. They scored touchdowns on their first 4 possessions. Meanwhile, the Titans went punt, punt, fumble, fumble, punt. Touchdown. Really something else. Titans penalties were out of control. Penalties maybe are one thing that we've really kind of under-discussed in terms of just what a shit show it is and how undisciplined they are, especially these false starts and the offensive line penalties. It's just not something that you can live with. Special teams are something that goes wrong every week. Colt Anderson's obviously surviving it. There's only 5 games left, and they don't have anywhere to go. Sam wants a reminder. A successful finish here. I mean, got 3 very winnable games. I mean, I think Cincinnati's offense, if the defense plays anything like this, will score 60 points. I know they don't defend anybody. And Houston, I can't imagine losing 2 games, though that last game might not mean much to Houston. But Jacksonville, could be sweepable. You got to win at least one of those games. And I think Indianapolis should be a beatable team after losing to them once. So I would expect 2 wins here to get to 5, maybe 3 to get to 6. And something to regain their footing, to show, to recover from this collapse. You felt like they played 3 good games there, and maybe we're going to end on a high note. Well, this is a big dip, so they were raising and then big dip. Now let's see you finish raising again. Can't run on the Titans. Jeff Simmons, 9-28-24. Nobody runs on the Titans. Got to take that. Yeah, Colt Anderson's going nowhere. And probably won't even get fired the Monday after the season. He won't get fired until they have meetings the week after the season. So, I'd give him a week or 10 days after the season. Maybe Amy would, finally say, give Nashville its red meat the Monday after the season. But Landry is an absolute non-factor. What did Landry do today? I mean, the guy is virtually invisible. It's an incredible disappointment. I don't think he's playing hurt. I mean, he has nothing that's injury report hurt. 3 tackles, 1 for a loss. Titan sacks today. Half a sack for Kenneth Murray, 1.5 for Arden Key. That's it. That is it. His bust is gone. Is Harold Landry undersized? Yeah, he's not a big guy. His burst is gone. I thought you said his bust is gone. I thought you had given him a bust. He deserves no bust. No bust for Harold Landry. That's for sure. Offensive line was okay. I mean, they couldn't run, and they didn't try to run much because, they're behind for so long, so early. So they're playing from behind. But also only 2 sacks and 37 attempts for Levis. So that's not bad. So progress there. I mean, you would figure if the Titans were going to get destroyed today, that offensive line would be amongst the top issues. Today, the top issue really was defense, first and foremost. The defense sucked. Defense was, played kind of soft zone early, and Daniels found spaces with open wide receivers, not necessarily deep, but easy to find. They were in 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2 consistently, and wasn't very difficult for them to find places. Great game, McNichols, CA says. I don't know that McNichols did anything. McNichols was in the game. Did he do anything? I know we want to go crazy with that. 6 for 32, 5.3. Not bad. When you're, that's the 4th leading rusher behind, obviously, Robinson and Rodriguez had big games, and Jaden Daniels ran 9 times for what felt like more than 34 yards. He was only 3.8 a carry. Daniels, super efficient. Really good. Why pay cornerbacks that can't stay healthy? Well, do you think that they paid them thinking that they wouldn't be able to stay healthy? I think they presumed that they would stay healthy. This is good. Aaron Moss, how am I not freezing up there? Didn't I hear it was cold? These are closed. So while it is cold, it's not as cold as it would be if that was open. Is there no one else to catch punts? There's no one else that could catch a punt and run. Boyd is the next option to catch a punt, and he's not going to run with it. So, no, in their estimation, there's no one else to catch a punt and run. Now, I would think next week we'd see them reconfigure things to get Mason Kinsey involved. We'll see no positive approach to winning jacks. That's all just wasting capital in the draft. The idea that drafting higher is definitively better has been proven to be nonsense. Going into next year, how many openings in the offensive line? Well, right tackle for sure, and maybe right guard. Depending on A, how you feel about Radens, B, what you do contractually with Radens. I'm not sure about Brunskill's contract status. That could have been a 2-year deal. And not sure where Cushenberry fits in right out of the gate with an Achilles if he's recovered all of the way for the beginning of camp or for the beginning of the season. Yeah, Sergeant, I would expect to see Kinsey next week, but yeah, I might have gone with Kinsey this week if I knew that they didn't have another guy that could put back there with any kind of comfort level whatsoever. So a lot of issues, penalties, repeat mistakes can be attributed to coaching. How does this first year compare to others in the last 25 years? I can't tell you that off the top of my head. And I think penalties are, I think Latham's a good player. So Latham false starting is not to me on Bill Callahan or on Brian Callahan. It's on J.C. Latham. Yeah, quarterbacks use the slide rule to their advantage to get every inch. Look, I don't want to watch games with shitty quarterbacks. There are already enough shitty quarterbacks playing. If Jaden Daniels can't slide and thus is more likely to get hurt, and we're more likely to see Jeff Driscoll or whoever the hell they have as their backup quarterback, Marcus Mariota. I don't want to see Marcus Mariota. Marcus Mariota is clearly not a starting quarterback in the NFL. I want to see Jaden Daniels. So do what you have to do to make sure the starting quarterbacks are starting and playing. If Amy has to make the decision on Colt, that means Callie isn't the guy. We already put up with Malarkey and holding on to the Rubisky, Downing, Awkeys. Well, Malarkey didn't hold on to Downing and Ackerman. Vrabel did. I think Callahan will probably do the right thing when the thing comes. Why is Kinsey the only option? Well, how is the bar this low? Well, it is a unique skill set. You need like a slot type receiver or a smallish type cornerback to catch punts and run with it. Who on this roster fits that type? Boyd kind of takes you out of your traditional slot receiver type. And the Titans are thinned out at cornerback. So a guy like Trey Avery, maybe, or let's see, who am I not thinking of there? Guys who might be doing it there are now playing roles. So I think if you were healthy and you had a Woozy and Snead there, you can go further down at corner or safety and maybe find a guy that you could be practicing there and dedicating. Yeah. Do I think NWI should get re-signed? Alan Ditto, how you doing? If so, what do I think it'd be worth? I'm bad at contract assessments. And I haven't looked at market value off the top of my head. 7-8 million a year. I'm not sure. Are the Titans closer to where they want to be compared to this time last year? Probably not. I mean, maybe at quarterback. I think Levis has done some encouraging things lately. Today wasn't great, but he's better. So I think at quarterback they could feel a little bit better. Sam, who's got a knack for the numbers, is guessing 8 to 10 million a year for NWI. That's what I would think he'd be starting at 8. Brunskill is a free agent, CA says. So there's another offensive line concern. And I don't think they love Brunskill. I think they love his leadership and his personality and all of that. But I don't think size-wise he kind of fits what Bill Callahan really wants to do, which is how he lost his guard spot. So we will see if he fits. Bab is severely underestimating what Rand spent. Rand spent closer to 240 million, not 140 million, and he couldn't find a punt returner. No, Jaquan Jackson was their choice for punt returner. And quite frankly, correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of you know the college stuff better than I do. He wasn't a great returner at Tulane. Jeremy, with the common thing here. Here's my thing with Cali. I'm seeing things with this team that are bothering. There does not seem to be any discipline or accountability. Well, discipline, I understand what you're talking about in terms of the penalties and it not getting better. Accountability, everybody throws out the word accountability. What does accountability mean to you? Accountability means somebody has to be fired, benched. Do you want a guy benched who's making a mistake and replaced with somebody who's clearly not as good as he is? So, Petit Frere's not good, but you bench him and you replace him with a Juquo who's worse. So what kind of cycle do you want to go there? The last 2 games, Petit Frere's been okay. That's as good as you're going to be at right tackle, is okay. They don't have a better right tackle. So people throw around accountability all the time. I think by accountability, I mean they want them yelled at publicly, which Callahan's not bad about being honest about a guy not being great. Today he said it was punitive that he took Jackson off the kickoff team, but he was limited in what he could do, and then, CA says, like bring Kearis Jackson back. I mean, it's nonsense. DJ from Nashville loves this post-game analysis and Q&A. Very informative. I appreciate that. Spread the word. So, what is accountability? I think is a big question for everybody. You want some sort of like Colt Anderson. I've agreed for a while. It's so bad, and it's permeated special teams so far. I blame players first, but that players so consistently and so many players have had such a problem, and it's been such a week-to-week thing with his unit that you don't see those kind of problems permeating any other unit so consistently that clearly he is not getting the job done. But, calling for heads like that is a very, very easy thing to say. Jeremy Beach says, we have no depth because of Robinson's drafts. Ridiculous to think we can bench somebody for a penalty or a miscue. This is very true. There's nobody to sub somebody for. And then you look at the guys I think people are interested in James Williams. Well, James Williams, pretty regular penalty guy on special teams. Had one today. Otis Reese had a penalty on special teams today. He had 3 penalties on special teams very early, which were the kind of young guys that people want to be intrigued by who are not good. They're just not good. I think that's been a fundamental mistake of this franchise. And I'm not saying all of them, but Kendall Jackson, and certainly Hassan Haskins. Hassan Haskins is not a special teams ace, but he's a better special teams player than a lot of people they put on the field on special teams. And I think they really underestimated the value of special teams talent in favor of just putting depth guys, third string linebackers on special teams who aren't very good at it. If that doesn't change next year, that would be a big concern to me. And that's got to be Callahan and whoever's new special teams coach are telling Ram, I need these 3 guys in this mold, period. And if they aren't good linebackers or good running backs or good whatever, so be it. Got to be good special teamers. And I've mocked them for having too many good special teamers in the past, or too much of a focus on the Patrick Baileys, the Tim Shaws, the Luke Gifford, who's probably their best special teamer now. But they're proving that you need those kind of guys for sure. So Johnny Vanderpool, long time no see. Based on the current situation, how would I rate Carthon's ability to evaluate talent acquisitions for his term? It's a little early. We didn't get to see Cushenberry all the way through. We didn't get to see Diggs all the way through. Pollard, been very good from the start. Ridley has gotten good. Took too long for him to settle in. But, some other guys, not good enough. Let's take a look at the depth chart for help. Sebastian Joseph Day has been a reasonably good guy. Kenneth Murray, he does some good things, but he does not cover well. So why do you want an inside linebacker who doesn't cover well? Well, they were going to shape things around them, and maybe it hurts him that, they're not as great in the defensive backfield as they thought they would be with Snead and Awuzie, and that would have helped cover for his deficiencies in coverage. But that's not working out. Murray's liability in coverage. The depth on defense is just poor. He said, we're going to get year 1 contributions out of guys like Jalen Harrell and James Williams, and they haven't. Travis Brownlee, obviously a great find. You go on offense. Latham's been pretty good, though. Today penalty problems again. Last week, not a very good performance. Jaquan Jackson, we haven't talked about enough. Everybody wants to talk about Brownlee being really good. Nobody's talking about Jaquan Jackson being really bad, and Jaquan Jackson's been really bad. Tyler Boyd doesn't do anything with the ball in his hands. Spears has been a 0 this year. He's been hurt a lot. I'm not sold on the 2-back thing. I want to give Pollard 25 carries a game and run him into the ground when they can. Didn't do anything at right tackle, which obviously has killed them in the long run. And too many guys on IR. So I think it's a little early to say. No, Aaron, I asked for Rand after the Hopkins trade. Was told maybe after the trade deadline. Then he talked to Nick Suss. Then I was critical of his answers to Nick Suss, and I knew I would get a no, so I didn't bother asking. Ernest Jones would be good. Ernest Jones was a good acquisition, Vanderpool, and they got a good return for him. But that's a guy who I thought was, a high-quality player for this team. and a high quality leader for this team beyond Simmons. There's not enough leadership on defense. Some of it's that these guys aren't in the lineup. So, Cheeto might be a really good leader, but he hadn't played. So I hadn't had a chance to talk to him or to watch him lead. Ernest Jones was a good leader, and it's disappointing that he didn't stick around. Alan, they got a right guard, Sadiq Charles, as a free agent who retired. He might have solved the right guard, but then people say, well, Radens would have then played right tackle. 2 regimes in a row have decided Radens is a guard. He's not a tackle. Howie's asking, do I think the Titans play too scared, that they're too hesitant to take risks on deep shots? Titans take plenty of deep shots. Titans take a lot of deep shots, and they hit a lot of deep shots. They're good. If this continues, Callahan doesn't make it through half season next year. I don't know about that. If they play like they played today through half a season next year, I think he'd be in trouble. But certainly going forward, they're expecting better than that. I would expect better than that. We are not the 49ers, somebody said. I don't know who suggested that they were the 49ers. I'll take a couple more and we'll get out of here. I might try to order City Lights of China from DuPont Circle, one of my favorite restaurants when I lived here, if they'll deliver to my hotel. It's good to see so many of you here. I appreciate it. I'm sorry for the earlier problems connected to bad internet. 8 attempts for Pollard isn't going to lead to any wins. You're down 21-0. How much running can you do? You're not going to make it up with carries. Very slow process. You're down 28-0. Can't run. Can't run. Wonder if it's possible for Brownlee to be less handsy. Of course it is. Got to retrain himself and stop doing it. Now they want to be aggressive, so they got to find the fine line that he can walk. Yeah, I lived here for a year and a half when I was starting my career, Howie. DC is a great city. If you haven't been here, I definitely put it high on the list. Come in the spring for the cherry blossoms. Beautiful. But the monuments and the museums alone are terrific. Even if the country's going to hell. Spears isn't a 0, insists Chris Barkley. Nick, the OC, doesn't use him differently than Pollard is used. So why not just use Pollard, who's better of the two? The OC doesn't determine how the running backs are used. The OC is Brian Callahan. Spears has done nothing this year that makes me say, boy, I wish they'd give the ball to Spears as opposed to Pollard. Pollard can do everything Spears can do, and he does it better. So I'd rather see Pollard. So I don't really get the Spears fascination. And Spears was a 3rd round pick, and he's a 2nd string running back. I prefer my 3rd round picks to be staples to my offense, not role players. You get role players 4th round, 5th round, or wherever. All right, we're running out of time. I'm going to say goodnight. I'm on a football show with Braden Gall tomorrow afternoon at 3:00, also on the 440 Sports Network. They could have Spears, Sam, work on punt return. So I think that. I don't think Soto's going to wind up with the Yankees, and I'm all right with that. Use that money and get 3 good players instead of 1. There's no excuse for Ridley not getting 10 targets every game. I tend to agree with that. How many targets did Ridley get today? Not a lot. 7. 7 targets, only 2 catches. Not a great day. Look, they were fucked today. Defense fucked everybody. So not much that you can do. Yeah, Chris is on the Spears train. He could do some things Pollard can't, but you have to use him differently than Pollard, like punt return. Sure, let him be a punt returner. third round punt returner. I mean, wasted value, but go ahead now that you have them. Don't block the box. Be sure to lock your locks. Read pk.com. Become a member of paulkuharsky.com if you aren't one. Blake Bettingfield's scouting report off this game is already in. It'll be up first thing in the morning for you to read. You're going to want to see what a scout has to say about what he watched unfold. Talk to you soon. Thanks for coming. I appreciate you. Eat at Edley's.